Here's why a lack of sunlight might be the reason you have low testosterone. So, the first reason why low sunlight or not getting enough sunlight will give you low testosterone is because of your circadian rhythm. And this is important because the circadian rhythm is basically like this. So circadian rhythm is like this internal clock that when you see sunlight, the sunlight enters your eyes and then goes inside your brain, and the suprachiasmatic nucleus senses it and tells your body that it is now daytime. It's the start of a new day when you first see sunlight in the morning. So if you don't see the sunlight in the morning, your body will not turn on the necessary mechanisms and the biological routines to start producing energy, make you alert, and start producing hormones and releasing testosterone. So if you're not getting morning sunlight, your circadian rhythm will not be optimized, it will be dysfunctioned, and that will cause many issues related with testosterone. Your body won't release testosterone in the morning just before you wake up, so it won't know when to release it, and therefore it won't release it, which will lead to low testosterone. So it's very important that you get sunlight because of the circadian rhythm. Without sunlight, your circadian rhythm is fucked, and that will cause many testosterone related issues. So make sure when you wake up, you get your morning sunlight, not inside a window, not from a screen. You get outside, you stand in the sunlight for 10 to 15 minutes or even 30 minutes at best. If it's cloudy, you spend more time outside. Sunlight still penetrates the clouds, but just less intense, but there's more sunlight than there is if you were inside. So just because it's cloudy doesn't mean there's no sunlight. There's just less sunlight, but that sunlight is still powerful enough for you to get the benefits and to align your circadian rhythm. So wake up, get sunlight. In the first 30 minutes of waking, get around 10 to 15 minutes of sunlight. And also, it's not just about morning sunlight, it's also about evening sunlight. When the sun is setting, it's also important to get, it's also beneficial to get sunlight when the sun is setting, because that sunlight, the specific red and orange rays, signal the release of melatonin, which is basically the sleep hormone, and tells your body to start falling asleep, getting ready to fall asleep, basically. So it's also important that you get sunlight at the evening, so your body starts producing melatonin. So that's why the circadian rhythm is so important for testosterone, and you need to make sure you're getting enough sunlight. So another reason as to why sunlight is so important is because of vitamin D. So when the sun releases UV rays, that says UV rays, this hits your skin. So this is your skin. So these UV rays hit your skin, and then when they hit your skin, it goes to your liver, and these UV rays are hydroxylated twice, and this becomes twice in the liver. So sunlight releases UV rays which enter your skin, and this UV rays are enter the skin, then they go to the liver and it's hydroxylated twice, and then this is when it becomes calcitriol, or as we know it, vitamin D. Now, vitamin D is actually not a vitamin. It's a fucking steroid hormone. That's how powerful it is. It's like gasoline for your body. It controls so many biological functions like immunity, wound healing, energy, mitochondrial biogenesis. So vitamin D controls so many biological functions and mechanisms and reactions, and it's so important for testosterone levels. So if you're not having enough vitamin D, which is actually a hormone, you will have problems related with testosterone and so on. So it's very important that you get enough sunlight because of the vitamin D you get from the sunlight. Now, if you're living in England, which is where I'm currently situated, it's now autumn and there's basically not much sunlight around. So I am guaranteed to have below the amount of sunlight I should be getting because of the current climate and the weather situation out here in England. And so I'm currently vitamin D deficient because of that. I won't be able to get enough vitamin D because of the weather outside. So this is the reason why I personally take around 4,000 to 8,000 IUs of vitamin D as a supplement per day after a meal, because going outside, which I do go outside a lot, is not going to be enough for me to get my daily vitamin D intake. So vitamin D is very important for testosterone, as it is heavily involved in many mechanisms and reactions that lead to the synthesis of testosterone. So this is why vitamin D is so important, not only for testosterone, but also many other biological things like immunity, energy levels, mitochondria, and so on. So it's important to get. So this is why sunlight is another reason why it may be causing low testosterone. Now, the next reason as to why sunlight may be the reason you have low testosterone is because of stress. So here we have cholesterol, and then we have testosterone, and then we have cortisol, the stress hormone. So when you are stressed, all of the cholesterol that your body has right now inside of you to use to make hormones like testosterone, DHT, androstenedione, all of these male androgens that are made from cholesterol, when you are stressed, all of the cholesterol that could be used to make testosterone and all the other androgens goes to cortisol, because cortisol competes with testosterone, and the body prioritizes making cortisol over testosterone because surviving is more important than reproducing for evolutionary biology. This is why cortisol will always beat testosterone in getting enough cholesterol for cortisol to be produced. So cortisol must be produced by the body rather than testosterone. The body prioritizes cortisol. Now, this is why if you are constantly stressed for a long period of time, not for a short period of time, if like you were in a fight or playing sports, if your cortisol is chronically high, meaning long-term high, meaning it's always high, then you will have low testosterone because there won't be enough cortisol. There won't be enough cholesterol being used to produce testosterone. So this is why stress is so important, and reducing it and controlling how stressed you are is very important for having adequate levels of testosterone. Now, that being said, how does sunlight affect the amount of cortisol and testosterone you produce? Well, sunlight actually lowers levels of cortisol, and in a very backwards way. So when you wake up and get sunlight, your cortisol, so let's say this is cortisol, when you wake up and get sunlight around here, your cortisol is low. When you wake up, sunlight increases cortisol, but cortisol follows a backwards loop where if it goes high because of sunlight, it will be lower throughout the day until you fall back asleep. So when you wake up, that's when you see sunlight. When you wake up and see sunlight, that is when cortisol leaps, which is why you get the alertness, the energy in order to go about your day. So without the morning sunlight, you won't get the cortisol peak, which means you will have low energy in the morning, you won't be as alert, and you will have more cortisol in your body. So if you were to not get sunlight, you would have more cortisol in your body throughout the full day. So the cortisol won't go down, and instead it will just be stagnant. It will just be stagnant. And that will cause higher cortisol overall throughout the day, which means more of your cholesterol will be going to cortisol and less of it will be going to testosterone. Less of your cholesterol will be going to testosterone, which means you will have lower testosterone. So this is why getting sunlight in the morning is so important in reducing cortisol, because you will have a reduced amount of cortisol throughout the day because you got sunlight instead of not getting sunlight. If you didn't get sunlight, which is this line, if you didn't get sunlight, your cortisol will be like this, which overall is higher than if it was here with sunlight. This is why getting sunlight in the morning is so important for having testosterone levels, high testosterone levels. There's no way around this. Now, next up we have dopamine. So when you get sunlight in the morning, your body starts the production of dopamine. And dopamine is basically this neurotransmitter that's essential for motivation and reward-seeking behavior. Now, this is very important because when dopamine goes up, testosterone also goes up. These two have a very close relationship. So when dopamine goes up, testosterone follows. And when you get morning sunlight, your dopamine rises and also your testosterone rises. This is why sunlight is so important for reducing depression, anxiety, and so on. This is why getting enough sunlight is so important for your mental health, because when you get sunlight, it promotes the production of dopamine, which reduces anxiety, depression, and so on. But when dopamine goes up, so does testosterone, and that leads to higher overall testosterone, a better mood, and better, motivation out in the morning to get things done, to go closer to your goals and get tasks done. So this is why getting sunlight in the morning is so important. So this is dopamine and this is testosterone. They have a very close relationship, and when one goes down, the other one follows. So when your testosterone goes down, your dopamine will go low, which is why low testosterone is associated with depression and anxiety, and high testosterone reduces anxiety. This is specifically why people who go on testosterone or HTRT experience way better mental health and motivation and drive. It's because of dopamine and testosterone's intricate relationship. So that being said, it's very important that your dopamine levels are high in the morning and your testosterone levels follow, which reduces anxiety. This is another reason why not getting enough sunlight will cause low testosterone, because you won't have the dopamine peak caused by morning sunlight, which will also not give you the testosterone peak in the morning, which is essential for, getting stuff done, energy levels, and so on, and muscle growth. Next up, so now that you know the importance of sunlight in the morning, now let's talk about darkness. So darkness is essential for proper sleep. If your room is not dark at night and there's random lights on outside in the street that pierce through the windows in your room, this will lead to problems with your sleep, problems with stress when you're sleeping, and problems with falling asleep, because you cannot fall asleep when the room is bright because there is no darkness. So this is why darkness is so important at night when you're trying to sleep. So in modern society, we live in an age where the days are dark, but the nights are bright because of the lights and social media and phone usages and, lights outside, the street lights and lights above me right now. So these lights are the reason why we have light at night and darkness in the morning, basically making us nocturnal in a weird way. So we need to stop this and counteract this, because for millions of years we humans have adapted, and we have adapted to experiencing bright days and dark nights. And if we reverse this, there are so many catastrophic effects that will happen to our health, such as, depression and so on, anxiety, messed up circadian rhythm, messed up cardiovascular health, and brain performance. So this is why darkness is so important, because it's essential for sleep, stress. If you're constantly in a place that's brightly lit, even at night and during the day, well, during the day is okay, but if you're in a place where it's constantly bright, there's constantly lights on at 1 a.m. in the night, and there's huge lights on, that will massively affect your stress levels, because, as we said before, sunlight increases cortisol. But when you have no darkness at night, that cortisol doesn't go down and it stays up, which causes you to be chronically stressed, and that lowers testosterone and messes up your sleep. You don't want your cortisol to be high when you're trying to fall asleep, because cortisol makes you alert and stressed and your heart rate go up, which makes it very hard for you to sleep. And if your sleep quality is messed up because you can't fall asleep, and quantity, you will have very negative effects on your testosterone, your health, and your mental health, and so on. So this is why darkness at night is so important for testosterone. Another reason why darkness is so important for testosterone is because, again, of dopamine. When your room is not dark at night, when you view bright light at night, it suppresses the release and production of dopamine, which again is so important for your mental health, your physical health, and reward and motivation. So if you have low dopamine, it will cause mental health issues like depression, anxiety, and it's honestly been proven, clinically proven in studies, where viewing bright light at night has been linked and causes depression and anxiety, which obviously lowers testosterone. Now that you know the importance of getting sunlight in the morning, how do we make sure we are getting enough sunlight every single day, despite the horrible weather that we have in the UK? Well, firstly, you need to put in more effort in going outside and, doing more activities outside and getting out of your room, and actually touching some grass for once in your life. So you need to get outside more. Get outside more. As vague as it sounds, get outside more. Get outside more. Because when you're outside, you're obviously going to get more sunlight than when you're inside. Getting outside doesn't just mean, just going grocery shopping. Intentionally go outside when it's sunny outside, when it's not sunny outside. Go take walks around nature. It will reduce your stress. It will make you more alert. It will improve your mental clarity. Go for more walks. Increase your step count. So me personally, during lockdown, I became very, very messed up in terms of my mental health, because I was always inside. They locked us inside in lockdown, and it just made our health worse, which made the amount of people that died from COVID go up, which actually made us, made us go into another lockdown. So when in COVID, I was getting around 1,000 steps a day. I was not going outside. I was just playing Fortnite every single day for 6-7 hours, playing Fortnite, and I was not going outside. And this massively messed up my testosterone levels, my mental health, my physical health, and even the way I looked. I got uglier in real time. I started, I got super skinny, but then I was still like bloated even though I was skinny. And it was probably the worst my health has ever been because I wasn't going outside. My step count was around 1,000 and I was not exercising. So when you're outside, you're more likely to, move around, to take more steps. Me personally, I've given myself a goal, a specific goal to get more than 10,000 steps every single day. Right now, I'm averaging 11,000 steps a day, which is good, but it could be better. And if you're getting less than 10,000 steps a day, what the fuck are you doing? You need to start getting outside more and start walking around more. So get outside more, increase your step count. This will guarantee you more sunlight and more vitamin D and so on. So get outside more, increase step count. And also, when you wake up, get sunlight when you wake up. Get outside, sunlight when you wake up. So get sunlight when you wake up, be outside more, and increase your step count. And another thing you can do to further improve how much, the benefits of sunlight you get and the benefits of vitamin D you get is to eat more foods. Eat foods high in vitamin D. So eat more foods that are high in vitamin D, and examples of these foods are dairy. Dairy has high vitamin D levels. Fish, some type of fish like salmon and mackerel and all of these other fishes are very high in vitamin D, so make sure you're eating more of them, especially when it's winter outside and it's autumn, when there's basically no sunlight outside. So you need to be getting on top of your vitamin D again. And if you have, darker skin, or you're ethnically from a place that is near the equator, like, places like Africa, South Asia, South America, and so on. If you're from places where there is a lot of sunlight that is near the equator from a hot place, like me, myself, I'm from a hot place near the equator, and obviously we've moved over to a country like England, which has not enough sunlight, and our bodies have adapted to getting more sunlight, and our bodies are used to getting a lot of sunlight. But when we moved here, there's been studies proving this, that when Africans and Asians that have migrated to countries with low sunlight, like Sweden and the UK, they have been reported to be severely deficient in vitamin D. So this is why, if you have darker skin, you should get more sunlight than, say, a person with more pale skin, because the person with more pale skin has adapted to not getting enough sunlight, and which makes them less likely to be deficient in vitamin D. So what you can do is eat more foods high in dairy, take a vitamin D supplement. Me personally, I take around 8,000 to 4,000 IU because I have darker skin than those who originate from the UK. And you also want to take, around 2,000 to 6,000 IU. If you have darker skin, you want to take more. You want to be outside more. And if you have more lighter skin, you should take around 2,000 on the lower end, 2,000 IU. And if you react negatively, then stop taking that supplement. So take a vitamin D supplement. And also, remember darkness as well. Keep your place dark at night. Darkness is very important. Remember the importance of darkness. Keep your place very dark. Me personally, I use this mask. This is an eye mask that I use when I sleep to make sure that zero light gets into my eyes when I'm asleep. And honestly, it's massively improved my sleep quality, and I think you should get one. I got it for around £5 on Amazon, and it's honestly been one of the best investments for my sleep. That's honestly not as very cheap as well. It's not expensive. Another thing you want to do is get blackout curtains and tape over any small lights that infiltrate darkness, and you want to in order to keep your room as dark as possible. the darker the better. So remember the importance of darkness at night, because you don't want to suppress your brain's ability to produce dopamine, which is essential for movement, for motivation and drive and reward-seeking behavior. And honestly, if you have low dopamine, you will lose your zest for life. Think about that. With low dopamine levels, you lose your motivation, your drive, and your zest for life, your want to do things. You lose desire for everything. You lose desire for the world. With that being said, so hopefully this video was very beneficial for you and you learned a lot. Make sure you wake up the next morning and get sunlight. Make sure you're getting sunlight today. And if you want more videos like this and this topic really interests you, I have a school community where I talk about testosterone maxing for teenagers. And if that interests you, make sure you check that out. The link is in the description. And I go more in depth on these topics in that community. I have a full course there if you want to check it out. So link in the description. And that's it for today, everyone. I'll see you in the next video.